Hi, my name is Kylie Stackis, and I work at TreesUpstate. At TreesUpstate, it's our mission to plant, promote, and protect trees. Have you ever planted a tree before? We always need help planting trees. Come volunteer with us. I love trees. Trees are the biggest and oldest plants on Earth. Did you know the oldest tree in the world is 5,065 years old? It's called a bristlecone pine, and it lives in California. The tallest tree in the world lives in California too. It's 379 feet tall. That's taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's called a redwood tree. Trees are so important. They make oxygen. Did you know we would not even be alive without trees? Trees make shade. They make homes and food for animals. Trees even help keep the pollution out of air and water to make it healthy for us to live. Let's take a walk outside the museum around Heritage Green and see what kind of trees we can learn about today. Wow, take a look at this tree. It's an oak tree. Most oak trees have leaves with lobes or deep curves like this. Oak trees can be sorted into two different groups, a red oak group or a white oak group. Red oak trees have leaves with bristles at the end of their lobes or points. White oak trees have rounded lobes. Which do you think this tree is? A red oak or a white oak? Red. This tree is called a nuttall oak, and it can grow up to 70 feet tall if we take good care of it. Here is another interesting tree. This tree has teeth on the edge of its leaves, just like the edge of a knife. If you look closely at the tree trunk, you'll see lines on the tree, on the bark or the skin of the tree. These lines are called lenticels. They help tell us that this tree is a cherry tree. These trees don't have any cherries for us to eat, but they do have beautiful pink flowers in the springtime. In Japan, they actually have a cherry blossom festival to celebrate when the flowers bloom, a whole festival to celebrate cherry trees. In 1912, Japan gave Washington, D.C. and the United States 3,000 cherry trees as a symbol of friendship. Now, Washington, D.C. celebrates the Cherry Blossom Festival every year too. These trees are big. I can't even climb this tree. This is another oak tree. It's called a willow oak because the leaves of the willow oak look just like the leaves of a willow tree. Oak trees like to grow tall and wide. There are lots of oak trees in South Carolina. Standing under the shade of this tree feels nice and cool, and it can be up to 10 degrees cooler than in the hot sun. This is my favorite tree. It's called a Gingko tree. Gingko trees are the oldest species of tree on Earth. Gingko leaves turn gold in the fall, and they're shaped just like a fan. Since they're so old, they're a very special tree. Most trees could either be a conifer or a flowering tree. A conifer is a tree that has cones, like a pine tree, a fir, a hemlock, a spruce. A flowering tree is a tree that has flowers and fruit. The seed is inside the fruit. This could be like an apple tree, an oak tree, a cherry tree, or a dogwood tree. Gingko trees don't have cones or fruit. They only have a seed. A Gingko tree is the only tree that's not a conifer or a flowering tree. Lots of people love this kind of tree. It's called a Crape Myrtle tree. It comes from Asia. There are over 50 different varieties of Crape Myrtle trees. Crape Myrtle trees have lots of different color flowers too. White, pink, purple, red. Most Crape Myrtle trees have more than one trunk. That's just the way they like to grow. Let's look at an evergreen tree. Do you know what an evergreen tree is? It's a tree that has green leaves all year, even in the winter. This tree is an evergreen tree. It's a holly tree. Holly trees have sharp leaves to protect themselves from animals that eat leaves. Some holly trees even have red berries. Since holly trees are one of the only trees that stay green for the winter holidays, there is even a song about holly trees. Do you know it? Next up is a dogwood tree. Do you know how to identify a dogwood tree? By its bark. That's one of my tree jokes. Dogwood trees could have white or pink flowers. You usually find them in the understory of a forest, where large trees make shade for them. Dogwood trees don't like a lot of sun. They're a small tree, and they only grow to be about 30 feet tall. Dogwood trees have opposite leaves. Look closely at the twig. You'll see that the leaves are directly opposite each other. Most trees have alternate leaves. When you look at the twig, they go back and forth or alternate on the stem instead of being opposite each other. Dogwoods are special because they have opposite leaves. Oh look, it's another tree with opposite leaves, a maple tree. Look closely at the leaf of the maple tree. It has lobes, kind of like an oak tree, but it's a different shape. If you look at the flag of Canada, you'll see the shape of a maple leaf. Canada has a lot of maple trees. A red maple tree is very colorful. It has something red on the tree in every season. In spring, the flowers or the seeds are red. In summer, the stems on the leaves are red. In fall, the leaves themselves are red. And in winter, the buds where the leaves come out from are red. You might see this tree in parking lots or next to the street. This tree is actually not from South Carolina. It comes from China. This is called a Chinese elm. It's a tough tree, and it can live in cities where there's a lot of air pollution and unhealthy soil. The bark of the tree is really cool because there are a lot of different colors: brown, orange, and gray. The leaves of the tree have teeth, just like the cherry tree. Thanks for learning about trees with me today. Come plant a tree with Trees Upstate.